Popcast. Where I got a hat for today. Also, coffee. I went back and watched the Luau Power Hour. I didn't see that live on Saturday, so I went back and watched it last night. You guys did pretty good. It was entertaining to watch. You learned a lot from listening to us and Stu. I hope you learned some good stuff from that. We can be pretty weird sometimes. Well, I don't know. No, we're not starting yet. But instead of just having the black screen for 10 minutes, I thought I might try this setup. See how this goes. If I think it's weird, I'll not do it next week. But I might have a different overlay next week. I have a friend who's working on it. Commentary was really entertaining. Well, thanks. That's entertaining is the type of that's what I kind of shoot for. Stu does a really good job too. It's really easy to be entertaining when you got somebody like Stu commentating with you. I don't know. When I commentate Grands, I want it to be something that's memorable for the people that are playing in it, because those are the main ones that they're going to be going back and they're going to be watching it, especially the teams that win. They're going to watch those things back for a long time. So it's like, okay, I want to make sure I'm good so that when they watch that back, they'll be like, okay, the commentators being good just adds to the value of this for me. And yeah, Stu brings a ton of energy. Stu's just a good announcer in general. I think he mainly does Smash stuff and professional wrestling, I think is his background. But yeah, that guy's awesome. All right. Should there be more trash talk in the scene? I don't know. I mean, I'm a grown man, so I can appreciate trash talk. A good chunk of this scene is middle schoolers, and I don't think they can handle trash talk too well. So yeah, I know it depends on who you're you're talking with. If I were to trash talk like one of these teams that is like 17 and under, that's gonna come across as me being a jerk for understandable reasons. But I don't know. I mean, I think what we need more of is rivalries, and that's something my team kind of likes to have. Is we like to pick out teams that we've been playing for 2+ years now at this point, and when we play them in a tournament, we get really excited. And that's something I kind of want to find more of in these low ink tournaments is matches that happen a lot between two specific teams, and they kind of like trade sets off of each other. I'm more interested in that than trash talk, I guess. Fluorescence had a rivalry with Revitalize. Is that why they disbanded? Because without Revitalize around, it's just why do we exist? It's like Joker when Batman, like Joker without Batman. They're not gonna be around. We're not gonna do it. Let's edit this. I screwed this up earlier. That's way too big. That's not how you spell that. Oh, this is a nightmare. Is that center? That's good enough. I need to move the alert box too. Put it right there. See what that looks like. Hoping for a high ink podcast. Only if Destiny Troops wins. If not, then I'm not even gonna mention it. November? Did I misspell November? I did. November. Well, that screws up a lot of things by taking that E out there. With that. Picked Rising Hope, be a winner from Swiss and Beta. Hey, here's a little behind the scenes thing here. You can't be a winner in both Swiss and Beta. I can't just brown nose for a team for an entire hour. You only get one shout out if you did good enough, in my opinion. November. Alright, that's enough of... We're ready. Where did I put Ink Me up at? Stop that. There. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, while you're showing support to our brothers and sisters in the Melee community, drawing pictures of your friends as cat maids, dropping from a Swiss tourney after round 2 because you thought it was double a limb, whatever it is that you're doing right now, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this, unless I don't. Some quick news here. Little Squid League 8 is going to be this upcoming weekend on Saturday. Little Squid League has bounced their tournament around so many times. Let me see if my tail flares. Nah, they're not going to stick up. Little Squid League has bounced around so many times. Let's see if I can find a Battlefy link for this thing here. That would be helpful. To all you teams that finish in gamma bracket and below, or you're like, man, I don't know what I need to do to get better to make it up to gamma bracket. We'll start playing in other tournaments. Ding dong. And a good tournament to play in is Little Squid League, because it is just for that skill level. Teams around I don't know what the official Ludi div is now. It seems like it's always changing, but it seems like it's just now geared towards gamma bracket and below. So here is the link. I will post this again at the end of the episode. I'm trying to get better at doing that. I always post things at the beginning, but at the end, I never mention it again. I will, once again, put this in the description below in YouTube or whatever. So right now we got 11 teams registered for it. Who's we? I'm not a part of this. They have 11 teams registered for this, including No Diving, I Ride, Squids with Guns, ? The Wiggly Phantoms, and Ink Eye. Ooh, Tentacool Splatoon. Haven't seen those guys in a while. Just to name a few. You should be one of them. I recap this tournament, not as in depth as I do with Low Ink. And I don't do a preview of my top 10 Little Squid League teams because you guys, that just gives you guys more material to roast me with. Hey, if you're a Gamma on down team, sign up in this tournament. The only way to get better is to get more experience. And there's not many tournaments out there that cater to this type of skill level like Little Squid League does. Take advantage of it. We need this tournament to stick around. Another brief thing to note. I am aware of the Nintendo situation in regards to the Big House LAN with Melee and Smash Ultimate. I do want to talk about it, but I don't have enough information on it yet. I've seen Nintendo's response and their reasoning for their cease and desist, and I've seen Twitter's response to Nintendo's cease and desist. But I don't want to sit here and do a rant about it when I don't fully understand both sides in particular, or what's going on or what's happening. So now after this podcast episode, I'm going to start looking into it. And next week, as part of my recap of Little Squid League 8, I'll do sort of a rant about Nintendo's response to Melee and what it means to the Smash community. And maybe I'll try to find somebody who knows what they're actually talking about and bring them in for a conversation about Nintendo in general. But I just wanted to point it out. I did see it. That is something I do want to talk about. I just don't have enough mental information myself to do a full-scale rant about it just yet. But that will be coming next week. Unless it doesn't. But today, and the reason you are here, I will be recapping Low Ink, covering everything from Swiss, Gamma, Beta, Alpha, and everything in between. But first, I always tell you guys, I'm gonna start off these episodes, these Low Ink recaps, with some apologies, because I owe some apologies to some teams for the predictions that I made on Thursday that did not come to fruition. I think fruition is the correct phrase for that. I hear people say that. I don't really know what that means, but overall, let's look at how I did. Let's look at how I did. Okay, so my 6 teams in my top 10 made alpha bracket. That's a good thing. That's an improvement over um, over last month, where pretty much I think I only had 3 teams that made alpha bracket in my top 10. Uh, 3. Okay, so 6 teams made alpha, 3 made beta, and 1 didn't sign up. So that's, for me, that's pretty good. That's a, we're batting above 300 here. We're doing all right. The main flaw in my top 10 list is the team that won isn't mentioned in there at all. In fact, that never even mentioned Blue Ring Kraken at any point in my preview, which is, I said I wasn't going to miss another team at all. I did it again the same month after Splatter Swim, so what do I know? Another huge flaw is that two teams in my top 3 made beta bracket. Oof, that sucks. let me before I start issuing specific apologies, let's break down a few teams in particular and kind of explain what happened here to these guys on Saturday. First off, with the elephant in the room, and my apologies to Stormy if you're listening to this at any point. Let's talk about Persistence real quick, because they had an interesting kind of situation here. They lost in round 1 to Totally Squidsters, which is fine. Teams in this tournament, we've first off, we've never seen a team go completely undefeated per game in this tournament. So you can take a loss and be fine. The problem with Persistence losing to Totally Squidsters is that the Totally Squidsters after that won 1 game and lost 4. So they lost to a team that ended up going 2-4. What does that mean as far as the grand scheme of things? That means Persistence's opponent win percentage by losing to that team plummeted down to hell, and there's just no chance at them coming back from that. The only way Persistence could have made alpha bracket after losing to Totally Squidsters in round 1 was to go undefeated, 5-1, which is fine. That's something Persistence is obviously capable of. But they ran into a buzzsaw of breakfast, lost to them 2-1 in round 5, and at that point, there's nothing they can do. Their opponent win percentage was just awful, and you can win. Obviously, the only way to guarantee making alpha bracket is to go 5-1. We see a lot of teams go 4-2, but to go 4-2 and make alpha, you can't get upset at any point. You can only take losses to other teams to make alpha bracket so that your opponent win percentage is enough for the tiebreaker to work in your favor. So that one loss in round 1, basically Persistence after round 1 on Saturday, they were basically in the losers bracket for the rest of the tournament, and one more loss was going to put them out, and that's rough. That's rough to play Saturday round 2 knowing in the back of your mind that we trip up again, we're done. And eventually, as you keep getting wins, you're going to start getting fed teams that are good. Now, to their credit, they did beat Epic Gamers Inc. 3-0 in round 6, but damage done, nothing you can really do there. And now look, does this mean anything for Persistence? No. Not to be a Persistence apologist, but you can have a bad tournament, and it doesn't mean it. We can give mulligans out for bad tournaments. Hell, my team played in Testing Ground 5, and we got completely destroyed by teams that in my opinion, I feel like we have no business being destroyed by. It happens. What you do, if you saved a VOD of it, you don't even look at it. You delete it instantly. You acknowledged it happened, and you just move on from there. So let's give persistence a mulligan here. Don't and part of this fact is I've said they are the face of low ink. That is true. That is true. You guys think of persistence when it comes to low ink. That's the first team you think of. You can't convince me otherwise. And what happens is whenever you see them, you get excited. You play persistence with more energy than you will play anybody else just because you know there is a target on their back and you are trying to gun for that target. Eventually, they were going to trip up. So taking this loss and not making alpha ultimately I think will be a good thing for persistence. I think that will take a lot of pressure off of them. There's not going to be people like me putting stupid expectations on them, which is basically what I'm doing with my predictions for low ink, so that they can play more loose. I don't know what their roster is going to be going forward. We know a couple players are now free agents and that they are recruiting, so we don't know what to expect for persistence going forward, but give them a mulligan. They're going to be fine. They're still the same strong-minded team that they've always been. They're called persistence for a reason. And we'll see some more of them, obviously, in the future. See, boys. My boys. I don't know what happened here. I had them, third? Yes, I had them third on my list. And for good reason. They deserved a third place spot on my list. They won Minnow Cup. They finished second in the Xanadu tournament series leading up. So those are the two tournament results they had leading up to this low ink. If you didn't have them in your top 5 going into this, what? First off, you're correct, obviously, but why wouldn't you? Everything they've shown this past month coming into this low ink was dominance and and just overall skill in general. So let's look. They finished 9th in their group, so they just barely missed alpha bracket. Only losses were to Blue Ring Kraken and Fluency, no longer Ink Fluency. So the only teams to beat them in Swiss were the team that finished 1st and 3rd. That's it. You would think just taking 2 losses like that would be enough to where your opponent win percentage balances out and you can go 4-2 and still make alpha. But they finished 9th, and that's rough. That's rough right there. I would assume that means that the other teams they got fed didn't do too well that they actually beat, which is part of the thing. To help your opponent win percentage, when you beat somebody, you need to be like, hey, please do as good as you possibly can for the rest of this tournament. Some of these matches that happen at the very bottom of the bracket that mean nothing to the two teams playing against each other in round 6 have some heavy implications for the teams at the top that played against them earlier. It's like, okay, if this team beats that team, that helps us out get a few more points, so that might be the difference between us making 8th instead of 9th. That's just how Swiss works. I mean, there's no better way to do it. You can do 7 rounds, but you're still going to have people that are... Then you're going to have people that are 5-2 that aren't going to make alpha bracket. Like I always say, if you want to win, if you want to make alpha bracket, win 5 games. You have to. Losing to BRK and Ink Fluency is tough. But if you want to win low ink, at the end of the day, you got to beat those 2 teams. You really do. And I'm not saying anybody was complaining about the tiebreaker rules or anything like that. But the fact of the matter is, only losers complain about tiebreaker rules. That is a fact. That is 100% fact. If you go 5-1, you don't complain because you made it. There's nothing to complain about. But But yeah, Sea Boys finishing ninth in their group. And I will say this: Group B was tough. Um, and I don't know. I don't know why. I feel like there was more of an intent to try to fix the balance issues. And the more I looked at Group A, the more I was like, okay, this is actually kind of a strong group here. It's not like A was significantly weaker than B, but B was a meat grinder. I mean, a lot of top teams were in Group B. I think Lowick staff kind of noticed this as well, and we've already got some new ideas to try to help balance out the two groups even more than the techniques that we used the previous 2 months. And again, 2 months ago, I think the balances were fine between the two groups. This month, I don't think I don't think they were balanced as much as they have been in the past. Yeah, the junior player from Valhalla DC'd. I'm glad they came back. There were some awkward moments after that Clan Blitz Hotel game where we're like, are they going to come back? Is this the end of the set? Are we going to play 3v4 for the rest of Grand Finals? I hope not. Anyways, the rest of my top five. Let's look. The Raccoons, Tyrant Inc., Evening Chickens. I had these guys at 7, 6, and 5. They made Alpha Bracket, and they did decently well. So, again, the top 10, that means you're going to, if you're in the top 10, that means I think you're going to finish at least middle of the pack of Alpha Bracket, and those three teams did. So, I got that right. There's a check mark there. Um, da, da. Let's see. Valhalla, I had them at 4, which is traditionally, if I have you as the number 4 team, that means good things. Just ask Luau. I had them at number 4, and they won the whole tournament. Valhalla obviously finished second. Probably not the result they wanted, but at the end of the day, not a bad result overall there. So let's get to the teams I feel like I actually owe an apology to. First off is Fluency, who is no longer Ink Fluency, but just Fluency. Thank you, Swamp. Swamper rocks. I had Fluency at number 10 on my list. And I said at the time, I felt like this is the best team I ever put at number 10. The reason I had them at the number 10 spot was we hadn't seen them since August. No, we haven't seen them since September. And September was their only lowing period. And the only other tournament they did outside of that was one SOS tournament where they beat Xylo, and then that's it. So it's like, okay, I feel like these guys are really good. It's just we don't have enough information on them yet. Now we got a lot of information on them. I put them at 10, and they finished third overall. And the reason they finished third is because one of their players had an emergency issue, so we didn't really get to see the full Fluency squad all the way through Sunday, which is unfortunate. Hope that whatever that situation was is all right. But for Fluency as a whole, I don't know. Maybe I do owe them an apology for putting them at 10. They're going to be higher next month, obviously, but I at least had the foresight to realize that they were pretty good. They were a pretty good team. I just didn't know how good because we didn't have enough information. But now we do. Obviously, I owe a huge apology to Blue Ringed Kraken, BRK, because once again, for the second month in a row, the team that won Low Ink, I didn't even mention at all in my preview, just like I did to Splatter Swim the month prior to this. But this is still a surprising result. It's not like BRK is a team that came out of nowhere. The last Low Ink they played in was in June, and they were the number 6 seed in Alpha, but lost in round 1, 0-3. Then they beat Triton Splatoon. They beat Steve War, which, if you recall, Civoir became Radiance the next month and then disbanded right after that. So we're thinking way back here. We're thinking like several teams ago. And then they lost to the West Broadway Grillers. I believe this was the tournament the West Broadway Grillers won. But you look at that. We haven't seen BRK since then, since June. The last time we did see them was last weekend in Ash Cup 6, where they won the group that they got put in, but the teams that were in their group I wasn't really too familiar with, and they didn't. I mean, they won their group, but they didn't beat any name brand teams that I was familiar with. And so they got a bye into round 2, and they lost immediately in Top Cut round 2 to Takibi, who would then go on and immediately get destroyed by Valhalla 3-1. So it's like, okay, if this is the only information we have to go off of, I probably still should have mentioned BRK as like I'm interested to see what they'll do in this tournament. But if you telling me that you legit thought BRK was going to win this whole tournament based off of just the information we had on them, you are full of snot. I understand that they got Div 1 in the German DSB League, but being the ignorant American that I am, I have no idea what that thing is. I know that Port Raccoon is also Div 1 in that league. And I know Div 1 is the highest div in that league, but I don't have like context. There's people that are saying like, well, the lowest div doesn't even have X-ranked players in it, which is like Div 4 or something. So I don't know. I mean, this raises the question, and people were bringing it up in the suggestion desk, was like, Div 1 DSB teams shouldn't be allowed in low ink. And it's like, well, it doesn't seem like they're completely dominating it. I mean, Port Raccoon obviously is a really good team. I had them at number 2 on my list, but they finished, I believe, at number 5, or tied for 5th in this tournament. Maybe not, but actually no, I believe that's correct. And you know, that's something we need to look into more, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Me personally, maybe if there's any European, well, I know there's Europeans in this chat, but if there's any EU players, and you think there are some lower level tournaments that I should be talking about on the podcast, or lower level seasons, or like Ludi type seasons that you think I should be talking about on the podcast, send those to me. Send those my way in a DM or something, because I might be interested in looking more into that. I don't really cover a lot of EU specific stuff, but obviously the EU Splatoon scene is arguably better than that we have here in North America. But once again, BRK, obviously, I could have mentioned you guys. I knew you existed. I didn't. I'm sorry. You obviously proved me wrong. And you guys destroyed this tournament, and got a really nice upset against Valhalla there. Congratulations. And I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks in High Ink. Yet another Tetris team that Destiny Troops has to deal with. Oh, joy. So what does this mean? What does all this mean? This shows that just how unpredictable this low ink is, and how much parity is here. Once again, in the first couple of previews I did, I was doing pretty good. I had the team I had at number 4 won, the team I had at number 2 won, and then these past 2 months have just been awful for me in particular. But it's not about me or my predictions. It's about you guys and how you guys perform. But it just goes to show how difficult it is to truly predict these low inks. There's so much parity here. There's so many teams that you would assume would do really good that get tripped up. And now we're starting to see teams that are going 2 and 4 that are upsetting some of these top end teams, these alpha bracket teams. So we're seeing a ton of parity at this level now, and which is a good thing. Which also raises the question of, as far as a a lower level tournament is concerned, where and I've always, you guys know, because you listen to a lot of the episodes of the podcast. An advocate for getting rid of Ludi divs as far as a ranking system for our entire community. But at the same time, low ink is clearly stated in the rules Div 4 and below. So if we get rid of that Div 4 and below, where's the cutoff? At what point are you considered lower level or not? And that's, I don't know. I feel like that's up for debate. Obviously, I'm not saying any of this stuff representing low ink. This is just me talking casually. Casually, I don't know. I guess this is casual. This is just me talking openly with my own personal opinions. I don't know where the cutoff is. In my opinion, I feel like if you're a team and you're not going to completely destroy this tournament and you can hang and you're even with some of the teams that we traditionally have at the top, then you're fine for what low ink is. But here's the thing. If it is Div 4 and we bring in everybody that's Div 4, and then all of a sudden all these Div 4 teams are growing together and they're getting better together, but only one team gets to win low ink at a time, and we're just popping off one team every month, everybody else stays there and they'll all keep growing, are they still at a Div 4 level or not? I don't know. And you don't know either. You don't. But I will say this. It's consider it like this. The speed limit on the highway is 70, right? So everybody's going 70. But all of a sudden, if everybody starts creeping up to going 75, 5 miles over the speed limit, or 5 kilometers if you're not in America, but so everybody's like going over the limit, but they're not getting caught. The police aren't going to be like, well, we're not going to pull over everybody, and just going 5 over is fine. But now people are starting to go 80 over, or they're going 80, like 10 over, or 85. So at what point do we start saying, okay, this is the limit. You guys are going too fast. You guys either need to slow down or go somewhere else. That's the question I think we need to start asking ourselves. I think every team that played in this low ink is fine. Obviously, people disagree to some extent. I think people will just disagree because, well, we should just get rid of every team until I am the best team and then I win. Everybody wants to kick people out. Nobody wants to kick themselves out. It's always, well, this team beat me, so let's get rid of them. No, well, what about you? Are we just going to make it so that you win? No. I think it's a fine conversation to have. But at the end of the day, and we saw this once again, if low ink staff decides you are not, if low ink staff decides that you are too good for this tournament, again, that's the goal. That's a good thing. You should want that to happen. You should want to be too good to play in low ink. Please don't throw a hissy fit about it. I'm not sitting here saying like you should accept it or that you should you just shut up and go on your day or something like that. But if you make like the argument of like, if you publicly make the argument that you're bad enough for low ink, that's not a good look. Just take it and move on. And that is really all I have to say on that. Overall, a good tournament. We're going to start getting into the matches by themselves, and this turkey hat on my head isn't nearly as annoying as the wig I wore last month. My dog still in there? The moose went away. I feel like divs are the most accurate thing the community has at the moment. That's not true. Divs have coming out in April. We're in November. The divs are 7 months old now and haven't been updated. They would be accurate if they were something that were coming out monthly. But you can't look at divs that came out 7 months ago and still apply it to today. That's ludicrous. Self divs are kind of like the honor system, I guess. But the problem is a lot of you guys have really horrible self divs for yourselves. Again, only 24 teams get to be in Div 3, but about 60 teams are claiming they're Div 3, so it's like officially Div 7 got fourth in low ink. Yeah, that's a perfect example. It's like oh well, you're not actually Div 7 anymore, but if you're a captain of a team, you still got that tag stuck next to you. Yeah, Sir Skits Div 7. That's hilarious. Let's look into some matches of note. From the Swiss stage. First off, Cephalo, not Cephalopod, just Cephalo Strikers 2-1 over Toxic Haze. This is significant because Toxic Haze is the team that won Gamma Bracket. Obviously, I'll be talking about them later. But I do want to give a shout out to Cephalo Strikers for winning a close match against them. This team dropped in round 5, so we didn't get to see them finish it out, which is interesting because if you just look at the wins and losses, you would have assumed that even if they just took an L in round 6, that they would have finished 3-3, and their opponent win percentage still might have been good enough to qualify for Gamma. So I don't know what was up with that there. Xylo had a similar situation. They were 4-1. They entered round 6 and they didn't have a sub, so they just took an L for round 6. But they still had a high enough opponent win percentage to make alpha. So curious to see what the situation was there with the strikers, but still a nice win against Toxic Haze there, 2-1. Also, Half English Breakfast getting a nice 2-1 win over Outcast Ninjas. Outcast Ninjas being a team I will talk about more later. They finished second in Gamma Bracket. Half English Breakfast. One of the many breakfast themed teams that we had in this tournament. And a newer team that we had coming up here, made up of By the Way Blue, who is a consistent Splatoon streamer, and some of her friends, I would assume, did pretty good here. If you beat the team that finished second in Gamma as a new team, you should feel pretty good about that. So, congrats to them on that. Trinity, 2-1 over Rising Hope. This is significant because this was round 6, and the winner of this got into Alpha Bracket. You like kind of seeing those kind of matches where it ends up 2-1, and you know, like, okay, that decisive game 3 would have decided a lot for the entire tournament. It ended up going into Trinity's way. And this was on stream, actually. So good job picking this one, whoever did that. And it was a 1-point win. Game 3 was tower control at Manta Maria, and it was a 1-point win. They cleared 2 checkpoints. Rising Hope cleared 2 checkpoints. And you know how the tower goes down that wall into the pit at Manta Maria to that 3rd checkpoint? The tower was going down. They were on it. The tower rider died. And it seemed like Rising Hope was still able to kill other players on Trinity, except for one. But since the tower rider died, eventually the tower started going right back up that wall, so it's kind of awkward to jump back onto the tower. And instead, it just kind of, that delay of the tower just rising, moving away from the players was just too much. They couldn't get back on the tower in time, and ultimately lost to 20 remaining to 21 remaining because of it. So you're talking about razor thin margins here between making alpha and making beta. And credit for Trinity to hold on to that. And shout out to Rising Hope. I believe Gaysicle is giving you guys a winner roll for both Swiss and beta, which is illegal. You can't get winner rolls for 2 things. But such a close. That's a tough loss to take on in round 6 on Saturday. But nice win for Trinity. They don't care. Enigma beat Kraken Warriors 2-1. This is an upset on paper. Kraken Warriors being a team that made Alpha Bracket last month, and Enigma being a new team that didn't even qualify for Gamma this month. One of the two wins Enigma got was against an Alpha Bracket team, and it wasn't enough to make it into Gamma. This shows me that Enigma is, while they are a skilled team, it seems like if they can beat Kraken Warriors, but they can't beat other teams, they might be lacking some consistency, which is a sign that you are a new team that hasn't gotten synergy yet. So the more Enigma plays, and they've been playing in a lot of tournaments, they sign up for testing grounds, they sign up for Minnow Cup. The more we see these guys, if we give them one more month in the oven, I think they're going to be a pretty doggone good pie the next time we see them in low ink. I definitely think they'll qualify for Sunday. A win here against Kraken Warriors kind of proves that they are capable of doing great things. Tuniverse 2-1 over Carbonado. He always talks about Tuniverse because that's his wife's team. Well, what are you going to do about it? You get your own podcast and you can talk about whoever the hot person in your life is. But credit where credit is due. This is the first time I'm aware of where Tuniverse has beaten a team that has Alpha Bracket experience in Carbonado, beating them 2-1. Carbonado didn't have the greatest tournament this time around. That doesn't diminish the accomplishments they had the month prior to this. So good win there for Tuniverse, finding a way to come up 2-1 here. Apocalyptic Inc. 2-1 over Alloptic. Apocalyptic Inc. started off this tournament 3-0 and started making some noise about it. And I said that if Apocalyptic Inc. were to win this tournament, I would be doing this podcast in a cat-made outfit. If you notice, I'm wearing a turkey hat on my head, so that probably means Apocalyptic Inc. did not win this tournament. But it doesn't take away from the fact that they still did really well. This win here being an example, beating Alloptic, a team that has Alpha Bracket experience, and found a way to get back into Alpha Bracket this month. Apocalyptic Inc. beat them 2-1, a nice win for them. Lastly, Breakfast, not half English breakfast, just straight up breakfast. 2-1 over Persistence. This was the round 5 match that ultimately did in Persistence. But not to throw shame on Persistence, but to give credit to Breakfast, this is a nice win for them against a quality opponent. Breakfast might be a team, even though they didn't do too well on Sunday, that doesn't really matter. They followed up a good Alpha Bracket, or they followed up a good Minnow Cup finish 2 weeks ago with a good Saturday here in Low Ink, making Alpha Brackets. I said that is potential, since they are a new team, that they might be the new future of Low Ink as we start seeing some of the top-end teams start to dip out of this tournament. So Breakfast and Oblivion, and a bunch of other new teams I'm going to be talking about, are probably the new future of Low Ink, probably the new future of a lot of teams that I'm going to be talking about as the days go forward. So, nice win there for Breakfast. I want to play in more tournaments given the chance. Well, I don't think you're going to be allowed to play in Little Squid League this upcoming weekend, but there are a ton of tournaments going on that you were more than welcome to play in. Like SOS this Wednesday. Winners from Swiss. First off, and I got a lot of them. Alloptic, bouncing back from making Gamma last month to making Alpha this month, going 4-2, and they were tied with the highest opponent win percentage in their group. What does that mean? Opponent win percentage means the higher that is, the tougher of a schedule you were given in Swiss. So they had the toughest schedule of anybody and found a way to get 4 wins and only 2 losses. So nice bounce back from Alloptic there, going from Gamma to Alpha. I believe their second Alpha appearance. Speaking of bounce backs, Geek Squids. Man, these guys always get a winner role for me. They always do great things, and they deserve attention for it. The last time we saw them in low ink was when they were going 3-3 in September. They took October off, and they bounce back here and go 5-1, qualifying for Alpha Bracket yet again after I believe they were in Beta last time in September. So nice couple of weeks here for the Geek Squids and all you Geek Squid fans out there. Kraken Warriors 4-2 yet again. Beta instead of Alpha Bracket this time around. Their opponent win percentage didn't really work out in their favor. Probably losing to Enigma didn't help out their opponent win percentage at all. You know, and I don't know. I feel like this isn't the result Kraken Warriors were looking for, but here's what we do know about them. They are becoming a consistent 4-2 team on Saturday, which means they're always going to be within one game of going 5-1 and getting that guaranteed spot in Alpha Bracket. But since they're consistently going 4-2 at this point, if their opponent win percentage works out, we're going to start seeing more in Alpha. If it doesn't, they'll stay in Beta. But they're easily in that group that I usually talk about of teams that will just rotate between Beta and Alpha. You like to see consistency as far as the record goes. It just depends on who they get fed in their schedule. Oblivion. These guys weren't even going to play in this tournament. Dev told me that they were going to skip out on this one just because they had players that were busy that weekend. As we did see some traditional teams not show up during the week just because of holidays or school or whatever, school projects or whatever. But Oblivion was able to play last minute, and they played really well, going 5-1. Only loss coming to Valhalla. They had the highest opponent win percentage in their group, which means they played the toughest schedule in their group and got 5 wins still. Very nice performance by Oblivion, a team that just missed making Alpha Bracket last month. Finished second in Beta Bracket when they played in it to Evening Chickens. A nice bounce back here from Oblivion, a team that is getting better and better and better each month that we see them. And obviously are going to be a really good team going forward. Surf and Turf, 4-2. Key wins coming against Hardcore Noobs. Apocalyptic Inc. Only loss coming to Alpha Bracket teams. They finished 10th in their group. They finished within 2 spots of making Alpha Bracket. Surf and Turf has never made Alpha Bracket. They're usually a Gamma Beta team. We're starting to see more consistency and more improvement out of the Surf and Turf team, finishing so close to making their first Alpha Bracket, which would have been nice to see. Speaking of teams making their first bracket, or at least qualifying for their first bracket, the Wiggly Phantoms. My boys, the Wiggly ones, went 3-3 for the first time qualifying for Gamma Bracket. Just barely. They finished 24th in their group. But here's the difference. Somebody said on Twitter, well, they've been in Gamma Bracket before. That don't matter. I'm talking about qualifying for it, earning it, not because teams dropped out and you got bumped up. They legit earned a spot on Saturday that they took and made Gamma Bracket. So congratulations to Wiggly Phantoms. This is a success story. Wiggly Phantoms used to be that team that were just like, oh God, I hope they win a game. And now they're going 3-3. So this is it. And once again, I always say this, Wiggly Phantoms are a team that play in a lot of tournaments. That is the credit to how they're starting to get 3 wins here. You guys got to start playing in more tournaments, unless you're like AJ and your schedule might not allow it, which is understandable. But these teams that do find time to play in more tournaments, they're getting more results, and it's starting to show here in low ink. Hats off to Wiggly Phantoms. Congrats on making Sunday for the first time. Half English Breakfast going 3-3 in their first tournament. In their first low ink, I think their first tournament overall. They might have played in an ink theory here or there. I didn't look into that too much. I talked to them, or I asked By the Way Blue a question in her stream server, how they were feeling about going into Sunday, and they were just saying, "Hey, we're just happy to be playing in this tournament. This is fun. We're just enjoying this. So it's like, okay, cool, that's great. That's what this tournament stuff is all about. It's just having fun, people. So a nice result for Half English Breakfast there. Definitely getting a winner roll from me. Last but definitely not least, I usually don't give out a winner roll to something like this, but when you do something historic, it gets pointed out. Valhalla is just the second team ever to go 18-0 on Saturday. That means they went 3-0 in every single match that they played. The only other team to do that was Persistence last month. So here we go, 2 months in a row where where a team has gone perfect, had a perfect Saturday. So congrats to Valhalla for doing that. We've never had a team be perfect on Saturday and win all of Low Ink, but that's the beauty of Low Ink. You can't just destroy it, but Valhalla, it did at least destroy it for Saturday. You don't need to play a team to play him. Yeah, pickup team won beta bracket this month. It would be nice to see more pickup teams, honestly, but I'll get into that more later. They wiggled their way in the top cut. I've said this before. Our dog is a 90-pound black lab, and he kind of wiggles a lot. We kind of call him a wiggly phantom. He's a little wiggly phantom. Let's look at Gamma Bracket. I'm almost an hour into this. Let's speed this up. Matches of note from Gamma Bracket. First off, Owo Gang 3-2 over Tooniverse. That's right. When my wife's team loses to something good, I still point that out. Don't come at me like that. Owo Gang, I don't know how they feel about being in Gamma Bracket. They made beta last month, and they made a deep run. I believe winning 2 or 3 games in Losers Bracket. I think they won 3 games in Losers Bracket last month of beta. But coming out here in Winners Bracket of Gamma and getting a nice win against a quality opponent in Tooniverse, who finished second in Gamma last month. Nice win there for Owo Gang. Not to be, if it's OWO, it's OO, correct? UWU is Uwu Gang. I believe that is right. I don't want to be showing my age there. Other match of note, in Infinidades, 3-1 over Odyssey. Why is this significant? This is the first time since August the number 1 seed beat the number 16 seed. The first time since August. It happened. The number 1 seed won a game in Winners Bracket. The number 16 seed has lost. This is almost an upset in a sense. I mean, we've seen it happen 3 months in a row. The number 16 seed has beaten the number 1. Infinidades, as Riley is telling me, thank you, Riley, broke the curse. Whoa, this is a shocker here. Normally, I don't talk about number 1 beating number 16, but that's actually kind of significant. Congrats to them. Other match of note, Splatarians 3-2 over Half English Breakfast. I went back and watched this one. This is one of the few matches I actually went back. I want to try to start watching more streamed matches that aren't on like the IPL stream, but that you guys are streaming. I can't watch them all because I have a life to some extent, but I do pick out like a couple that I try to go back and watch, and this was one of them. Interesting thing about this is that I realized the Moo, who had at least a free agent tag. I know they are a free agent. I don't know if they're actually playing or going to be on Splatarians going forward, but it was nice to see the Moo playing here. And a nice win, 3-2 overall. Also, I believe, let's see. Half English won the first game. Splatarians won the next 2. Half English won game 4 to force a decisive game 5 that Splatarians won there. I do want to give a shout out to Hammy. on Half English Breakfast. As a fellow person who uses Hydra a lot, it's nice to see a Hydra player on a fellow team that is getting a lot of kills and popping off there. So nice play there, Hammy, whoever you are, on the Hydra there, even though it was in a losing effort. But Splatarian's obviously an established veteran team who knows how to play really well. So this is a nice loss for Half English Breakfast. The show they can hang with a team like Splatarians in your first tournament. Shows that you are pretty good. Yes. By the way, Fire. Fee. I'm gonna call you Fi. How about? I can't pronounce those things. I played you in solo queue. I was using Remix and you were using Hydra and you beat me up. If I see you in solo queue again, I owe you a knuckle sandwich for what you did to me with your Hydra. But yes, as a fellow Hydra person myself, nice to see. It's nice to see Hydra. Lowink's probably one of the few places you actually see Hydra in competitive, but it's nice to see that. Don't talk about vanilla Hydra. Oh, Hydra versus Hydra. Okay. I said don't mention vanilla Hydra. Splatter Swim's gone. We don't see vanilla Hydras anymore. Okay. Winners from Gamma. I got 3. First off, Hardcore Noobs. This is their first Lowink in a long time. Actually, I think this is their first Lowink in the 2-day era that we find themselves in here. They won Little Squid League over ITAP. I believe that was Little Squid League 6 that they won. But they lost in round 1 to the Outcast Ninjas of Gamma Bracket here. And I should actually pull up the actual bracket on my screen so I know what I'm talking about here. But if you know, when I give out winner rolls, I like it when a team does some noise in the losers bracket. So Hardcore Noobs, they lost to Outcast Ninjas 3-2. The team that finished second, they lost to them 3-2 in winners bracket, and then went in losers, swept Unlightened, beat Half English Breakfast 2-1, and then beat Odyssey 2-1 before ultimately losing to Ink Dragons 1-2. So a very nice result there for Hardcore Noobs. And it's nice to see them back in low ink. Hopefully we can see more of them going forward. Another strong EU team. I'm going to be talking about a lot of EU teams today. You guys are destroying us. Another winner from Gamma. Give me the Ink Strike Inklings. Once again, another team that did some serious damage here in losers bracket. They did get a win in winners, beating Unlightened 3-0 before losing to, yet again, the Outcast Ninjas. You're going to see a theme here. But when they got into losers bracket, won 4 straight matches in losers bracket. They swept the Wiggly Phantoms, swept Tooniverse, swept Splatarians, and swept the Inked Dragons before running into the unstoppable force that is known as Toxic Haze, but only losing to them 3-2. So Inkstrike Inklings, the only teams to beat them, were the 2 teams that had an epic battle in grand finals of Gamma brackets. So definitely a winner roll to Inkstrike Inklings, a team that usually finishes around beta, but showed up in Gamma bracket here and made their presence felt for sure, winning a ton of games. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 13. They went 13-6 in this Gamma bracket. Not too shabby. Lastly, my last winner here, I'm going to give it to Odyssey. Now, they are the first number 16 seed since August not to win against the number 1 seed, but did some good damage here in losers bracket, beating Barracuda Blitz and Owo Gang 2-1 before losing to Hardcore Noobs 1-2. So once again, another team, a number 16 seed. Even though they aren't upsetting number 1, they're still doing damage in losers bracket. These number 16 seeds, these teams that are just happy to be in these Gamma and Beta brackets, they do some damage here, and because they might not even had considered the fact that they might play in Sunday or not. It depends on who drops and who doesn't. So These teams that we always see sneak in on Sunday when other teams drop, they don't just roll over and die. They do some damage here. So hats off to Odyssey for doing just that. Ugh. Okay. Grand Finals. Toxic Haze versus Outcast Ninjas. This is a rematch. Let me just set this up, and you can probably already tell how this is going to go if you pay attention to Low Ink. These two teams played in winners bracket. Outcast Ninjas won 3-1. So, Toxic Haze is coming into this rematch with momentum as a hungry underdog who knows that they can upset the number one seed or upset the team coming from the winners bracket. What happens in every Low Ink, in every single bracket when this happens? Of course, Toxic Haze forced a bracket reset, dominating the first set 4-1, and then found a way to win the bracket reset in a very tight 4-3 result. I caught the tail end of this one because I believe the Outcast Ninjas were streaming after Stu and I were done with Alpha Bracket Grand Finals. I came downstairs and I watched this one because Toxic Haze is a fun team to watch, a team that is near and dear to the Destiny troops' hearts. So I wanted to keep an eye on them. When I watched, Toxic Haze was down 1-3 in the bracket reset and found a way to win 3 straight games. The last game being tower control at Manta Maria. Toxic Haze got the lead very late in that matchup, and used their specials to ultimately close it out there. So a nice win for Toxic Haze coming in their first tournament. So what does this mean for both teams? For Outcast Ninjas, they didn't even qualify for Gamma last month. But they finished in second place here, making their first. I don't think this is their first Gamma, but this is their best Gamma result by far, not up to date. I feel like this isn't the final result they wanted, but a huge improvement nonetheless. I think the problem here is that when you come in as the team from the winners bracket and then you get bracket reset, the mindset is for you is like, oh, we got to play 7 more games. I was hoping this would be over by now. Versus Toxic Haze that is like, bro, we just forced a bracket reset. We can win this. The shifts in dynamic, it can be difficult to overcome mentally. Especially when this is like, oh, we beat these guys in winners bracket. Now they're beating us here. Is what it is. But still a nice result for Outcast Ninjas nonetheless, and a good experience for them as well. This will be a tournament that'll make them better going forward. But what does it mean for Toxic Haze? What a first tournament for these guys. I have knocked them for being really skilled but inconsistent, which is a sign of having a lack of experience. They played in 33 games on Sunday and won a clutch game 7. That's the type of experience that will pay dividends down the road for these teams. I scrimmed these guys with my team on Friday before this Low Ink, and I told them that it was really obvious to me that once Toxic Haze knows what they're doing, they're going to be better than Destiny troops. I truly believe that. And they have proven that because they beat Luau. Man, how many times am I going to bring that up? They beat Luau in Ash Cup 6. Now, they didn't do good against other teams because, once again, lack of experience, inconsistency. Lack of experience equals inconsistency. But they got a crap ton more experience just based off of this tournament alone. And it's going to be scary to see what these guys accomplish in the next Low Ink. And I believe that is it for this sheet of paper. Okay. Oh. Let's move to beta brackets, or as it was initially billed, alpha bracket B. I will point this out. There were some teams that dropped from this. In my assumption, I don't want to make assumptions, but my basic assumption is that a few teams weren't happy that they made beta bracket. Well, I mean, honestly, there's beta bracket is usually half teams that are like really thrilled to be there, and the other half that are like, I wanted to be an alpha. So I think a couple of teams didn't just drop from beta just because they were like, nah, we'll take a pass, which is just fine. It's their right to do so. But for us, the spectators, it would have been nice to see some like all teams that made beta actually play in it because it would have been really competitive. Instead, we saw the pickup team just slap everybody around, but we'll get to that. Matches of note from beta bracket. First off, Day Old Sushi 3-1 versus UCSD Esports. I believe that is University of California, San Diego. I believe this is a version of the Triton Splatoon team, the college team, the maybe the new up and coming rivals of ITAP at some point. But why is this significant? Because you thought Gambit was cool. This is the first time since July that the number 1 seed beat the number 16 seed. What? What's going on here? When did the number 1 seeds suddenly wake up and realize, oh crap, we should actually take these round 1 matches seriously because we keep getting destroyed? First time since July, the number 1 seed beat number 16. Now, Day Old Sushi, I've mentioned this before. The prerequisite to be allowed onto Day Old Sushi, you have to be at least 25, which knocks out pretty much every one of you in this chat. But when you have an old team, an old team there that are just that are smart and they realize and they take every game seriously. And yeah, is Day Old Sushi pissed that they didn't make alpha bracket? Hell yeah. You kidding me? I know I don't know for a fact, but I would heavily assume that they were pissed that they didn't make alpha bracket. Not mad at anybody but themselves, but they were definitely hoping to make alpha. So we have this trap. We usually see San Diego coming in here just being excited they made beta, and then you got Day Old Sushi who probably didn't want to be there at all. Didn't stop them. Beat them down and won the game 1. Congratulations to Day Old Sushi for stopping the unstoppable number 16 seed in beta bracket. Wow. Surf and Turf 3-2 over Hydra. This was the first low ink for Hydra. But Hydra is not a new team in general. This was these guys play in a lot of South American tourneys. And we do have a lot of South American specific teams that play in low ink. Whenever teams sign up, we look at their history. It's hard to tell with these South American teams, like, how good they actually are based of like, okay, they do really well in this tournament, but how it is, like, all the teams they play against, we don't really know. I mean, Michelin Heroes usually signs up for a lot of them. Dark Shadow signs up for a lot of them. You see Narwhal sign up for some of them too. But outside of that, it's like, them beating this team, is that significant or not? You don't know. So the more we see of those teams play in low ink, the more it is for me to kind of gauge how significant some of these wins in the South American tournaments are versus traditional low ink teams that we see. So hats off to Hydra coming in to their first low ink. Hopefully they had a good time and almost beat a tough Surf and Turf team here 3-2, but ultimately not getting the win. The last sets, or the last match I want to give a note to from Beta Bracket is Ink Titans 3-2 over Symphonies. This was the losers final. This was the second and last game that I saw that wasn't on stream. Symphony, I am a secret big fan of, just because they're a team that's been around for a long time. And whenever they do, it seems like they always find a way to land themselves a interesting match. So, and I know they stream it, I believe, from multiple standpoints actually. So, whenever they do something interesting, I try to peek into it. And Ink Titans is a team I honestly haven't gotten to see much of lately, so I definitely wanted to peek in for that, just for the fact of seeing Ink Titans. First off, I want to give a shout out to my boy Pez. Pez played for Symphony, and I think Pez is now a permanent resident of the Symphony squad. Pez used to be on the Operation Goldfish team, and was a fun person to play with. Haven't had a Pez interaction in a while, but good to see that dude is still around and kicking. Um, let's see what did there was a the key moment in this set was game three. Rainmaker Shipyard Symphony had the lead. I think they just kind of screwed up the ending there a little bit and ultimately cost them that game. But at the same time, you could say the same thing for Ink Titans because in game four, Clam Blitz at Piranha Pit, Ink Titans had the lead and they kind of screwed that up and ultimately coughed up their lead in overtime to Symphony. So you can't really say if you're Symphony, you can't say if we just played better for a few seconds in this Rainmaker game, we wouldn't have won the set. Because at the same time, Ink Titans is going to say, well, if we'd played better at the end of this Clan Blitz game, we would have held on to the set. So that's the beauty of Splatoon. You steal one and you give one away. Obviously, the game five result there didn't fall into Symphony's favor, but for Ink Titans, this is a really good win. As they moved on to grand finals after this, so nice win for Ink Titans there. Pez is on Symphony. He wasn't just a sub; he's an official member. Is that what I'm gleaning from this? That's good. And that would be nice to see. It'd be nice to see if Symphony has at least 5 players this time around. I know they've been rolling with this 4-player squad for a long time, but and ITAP does it too. Carrot, who runs Helix, they're a 4-player team as well, but you just get the sense of like that's how you get 4 players who consistently have the same schedule every single day. That's the dream, that's the ideal. But I mean, what happens when one player has to go out and then you need a sub that you might not have synergy with? I think 5 is kind of the perfect ideal number. 6, Destiny Troops is 6, and we love being at 6, but we also have college kids who need a break, and a captain who focuses on lower level stuff when really that doesn't benefit our team too much at all. But whatever. Winners from beta bracket. Give me Day Old Sushi, not just because they beat the unstoppable number 16 seed. Hey, you came back. Hi, Moose. Come here. They beat. They did lose to Sushin Era in round 2 of winners bracket, but then went on a really nice losers bracket run, sweeping Kraken Warriors 2-1 over Solution, 2-0 over Rising Hope, and ultimately losing to Ink Titans 2-0. So here we go. Once again, a team that probably wasn't happy to make beta bracket still showed up, still played really well, and still got a really good result for them and a good amount of experience. Day Old Sushi, I did see them on the IPL stream. I know Sigurd probably streamed the whole tournament from his side, but I did watch the IPL stream. Shout outs to the Luau Power Hour. You guys did good commentating that. And that was the first time I've ever seen a Day Old Sushi team play with Sigurd subbing out. They now have Mayhem, who used a brush on Splat Zones at Wahoo World in that set. And Sigurd was using Kinsa Roller at one point, which really surprised me. So this might be a more sophisticated version of Day Old Sushi versus the one that we're used to seeing, which has always just been Sigurd, Roller, Unga Boonga. But now this seems like a more diverse Day Old Sushi team, which makes it harder to game plan for when you go up against them. Obviously, got to give Symphony a winner's roll here. They finished third overall. This is their best Sunday result by far across both brackets when they make alpha and when they make beta. Finishing third here in beta. This is their best Sunday for sure. All of their wins coming in the winners bracket, beating Ink Titan. How am I just now seeing this? They beat Ink Titans earlier in the set in winners bracket 3-2. Okay, so that even adds more emphasis into the losers bracket win for Ink Titans there. So in winners bracket, Symphony beat Shiver Me Inklings 3-1, Ink Titans 3-2, and Rising Hope 3-2. So they played in a bunch of 3-2, 3-1 matches here until losing to Nuts, the pickup team 3-0. So nice little run there for Symphony. Possible new rivalry with Ink Titans? Question mark? Who knows? Last winner roll here, and I believe this is being pronounced correctly. Sushin Era 2.0. These guys got 2 wins in winners bracket, sweeping the Deep Fried Octolings, beating Day Old Sushi 3-1, and being the only team to not only take 1 game, but 2 game off of the eventual champion Nuts. Losing to them 2-3. Nuts went undefeated in every other match they played, so definitely a winner roll for them there. They did lose in losers bracket to Ink Titans 2-1, finishing tied for 5th, but a nice result. A nice Sunday there for Sushin Era 2.0. Yes, I would assume the only reason you made your pickup name, which is a really dumb name for a pickup team, is so other people can say the word nuts. I'm not afraid to say the word nuts. It is a food. Nuts, 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 nuts. There. Are you happy? You happy now? Speaking of nuts, let's talk about grand finals. Uh, Nuts versus Ink Titans. Nuts won this one 4-0. Next. Let's talk about this. Nuts is the pickup team. And honestly, one of the few pickup teams we see in low ink. We don't see a lot of pickup teams. In fact, we have seen pickup teams win. We have seen pickup teams win low ink before, but since we switched to this 2-day era that we're in right now, we're only seeing traditional teams starting to win low ink. Pickup teams have made alpha bracket before, but we haven't seen much out of them. So this is the first. This is probably the best pickup team we've seen in the 2-day era. Nuts is made up of Gaysicle, of ITAP, Rish, Nico, Chico, Lucy, and Soul. I admittedly don't know too much about all of those players outside of Gaysicle. I believe, well, I mean, they're in chat. I believe Nico has some connection to Splatter Swim, but I don't know much about the other players in general. So what does this mean for them? I don't know. A good finish. I mean, they swept everybody except for Sushin Era, Apocalyptic Inc., Epic Gamers Inc., Symphony, obviously Ink Titans. So, I mean, a strong team here. They came really close. They were the number 4 seed in this, so that means what they finished 10th in their group. So they were pretty close to making. They were pretty close to making alpha bracket actually, but I assume we'll see the actual ITAP team going forward, so that will knock out Gaysicle. But I mean, to all the other players, obviously winning beta bracket, and this is Gaysicle's second beta bracket championship. Not a bad finish there. Again, good to see pickup teams. Hopefully we can see more pickup teams. It's hard to get a pickup team for low ink because you guys always want to play with good players, and everybody that you suggest to bring into your pickup is probably already banned. And then you'll look at the sub list and you'll be like, well, let's add this person. And we're like, no, they're banned too. And you're like, what the heck? Why is everybody banned? It was like, well, It's a lower level tournament, sweetheart. You can't just come in and destroy it. But hey, hats off to you guys. Nice result. Way to win beta brackets and do it in dominant fashion. Congratulations to you. What does this mean for Ink Titans though? For the Titans, this is their best finish in low ink. They made beta bracket the past 3 months. And they were the number 2 seed this time around. So that means they were even closer to making alpha bracket than Team Nuts was. Good result, good tournament overall for Ink Titans here, and a nice bounce back after losing the Symphony earlier in the winners bracket to up in them in losers finals there. So hats off to you, Ink Titans, a team that is obviously improving their best beta bracket finish. Possible alpha bracket next month? We'll see. All right, alpha bracket, and then let's go. We'll go for an adventure. I can't say the WALK word out loud because the dog gets really excited, but we'll do a WALK after this. How about that? Alpha bracket. Matches of note. First off, Trinity 3-2 over Alloptic. Welcome back to the Alpha bracket. Alloptic and Trinity is a team that is in their second straight Alpha bracket, but this time around they got their win. This is their first win in Alpha bracket in 2 months. Last month they did not beat anybody, but here they played Alloptic and got a very close 3-2 win here. Once again, another pair of EU teams. I believe Trinity is German. I don't know where Alloptic is from, but I know they are from the continent of Europe. So Trinity, a team that is consistently making alpha brackets now and are starting to find ways to get wins here. A very close win as well, so a nice win against Alloptic. Other match of note, Fluency, with an exclamation mark at the end of their name. So Fluency, 3-2 over Squid Row. This one was actually on stream and came down to a really close Game 5 Clam Blitz that went into the favor of Fluency, and was the last time that we saw the actual Fluency team before one of their players had to go and get a sub to finish out the tournament for them. Tyrant Inc. in losers bracket beat Evening Chickens 2-1. Hey, I actually predicted this one right. I had Evening Chickens at number 7 and Tyrant Inc. at number 6 on my top 10 list. And what happened? Tyrant Inc. beat Evening Chickens, and it was close because they only beat them 2-1. Hats off to Tyrant Inc. for finding a way to win here. Both of these teams trending in the right direction. Evening Chickens, this is their first alpha bracket. Didn't do too shabby. They beat the Raccoons. That gap match was on stream. Lost to Squid Row in a close 3-2. Lost to Tyrant Inc. in a close 2-1. So welcome to Alpha Bracket Evening Chickens. I assume we will see more of you in Alpha in the future, but Tyrant Inc. proving they're still, at least for now, the better team. So a nice win there, even in a best of 3 losers bracket. Winners from Alpha Bracket. First off, give me Xylo. I had a lot of you tell me that Xylo was going to be the team that was going to win this whole tournament. What last week or on Thursday, somebody was in chat saying Xylo was 100% going to win. Xylo didn't win, but I still think they lived up to the hype. Honestly, do. They finished 4th here. They beat Breakfast 3-0. They beat Palou du Mar, I believe is a French team, 3-1. Lost to Valhalla like everyone else did, 3-0. And at that point, they beat Port Raccoon 2-0 in losers bracket, and finished 4th, losing to BRK. Again, this was one of the teams that needed a sub. My friend Tiger came in off the bench to help out Xylo take on BRK. That is probably the toughest team Tiger has ever faced, but a good experience for her nonetheless, coming out with the tri-slosher. Um, Xylo, obviously a really good team. I had questions about them because this was their first low ink. They've played in tournaments leading up to this, um, but they showed that they're still a pretty good team. I believe the Raccoons were the only team to beat them in Swiss. They did lose to, they had to drop their round 6 game to Pelissu Dumas. There's no way I'm pronouncing that correctly, but they did beat them in Alpha Bracket. So Xylo, a nice finish here. Hopefully we can see their full roster coming out next month in low ink. And they'll definitely be a contender to win it for sure. And if not, you guys are still going to let me know about it. Anyways, Xylo apparently has a really strong following. Good for them. Good for them. They seem like a fun team. Other winners from Alpha, give me Fluency. Obviously, these guys finished third, and they needed a sub Tau. Let's again explain this situation. So Fluency beat Squid Row in winners round 3. They go on to take Valhalla in winners finals. And one of their players had a family emergency and had to dip. So they needed to find a sub right before winners finals started. And they found a Tau who came in, I assumed had no intentions or had no idea that they were going to actually play, or if somebody was going to ask the sub for them, if it was going to be, hey, come in to grand finals where Stu and me are going to start streaming and commentating. 200 people are going to be watching, and oh, by the way, you're playing against one of the strongest teams Low Ink has ever seen. And to Tau's credit, hung in there and played really hard and played really well with a charger against with teammates they probably have never seen before in their lives against Valhalla. In managed to take one game off of them in winners finals, a Rainmaker game, and then lost to BRK. So the only team to beat Ink Fluency on Saturday finished first and second. Again, we didn't get to see the full Fluency roster. But once again, a shout out to Tau coming off of the bench there, and I hope they don't feel bad about this. I mean, they got put in a really unfair situation, but the fact that they got to play allowed Influency to have a chance to make a run, and they did take a game off of Valhalla. BRK is a strong team. But Fluency still had their chances there. They still had their chances to win a few games against both of those against these two teams. And still a nice result for Fluency all around. My last winners from Alpha Bracket, Squid Row. Squid Row, they tied for 5th. And they looked like a contender to win the whole tournament at some points. They swept Vinto, which is now going by Vinto Gaming again. Sometimes they're Vinto, sometimes they're Vinto Gaming. This month they are Vinto Gaming. They beat Evening Chickens 3-2, lost a close set to Fluency 3-2, and then ultimately got put out by BRK. So the only teams to beat Squid Row finished 3rd and 1st, and they finished 5th by themselves. I wish Squid Row would sign up for more of these low inks. It seems like they play every other low ink. They always sign up and then drop, which is fine, I guess. But it's like, man, I want to see more consistent Squid Row play. They're obviously a really good team. They make Alpha Bracket every time they sign up. It's just we see them every 3 months. So hopefully, I think their schedule doesn't always allow them to play in this tournament, but. And freeing up an entire weekend to play in a tournament every single month, it can be a difficult thing to do. But hopefully we can see more of Squid Row going forward. All right. Grand Finals. Valhalla versus Blue Ring Kraken. If you exclude last month, when Splatter Swim just destroyed everything, the story of what happened here should not be a surprise to you. Uh, Valhalla beat Blue Ring Kraken in winners brackets 3-1. Blue Ring Kraken went on an absolute tear through losers bracket, starting in round two. Swept Oblivion, swept the French team, swept Squid Row, swept Xylo, swept Fluency. So you have a Valhalla team that is made up of a lot of experienced players, but going up against a BRK team that was the only team to take a game off of them at that point, besides Fluency, and was on a, what, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 game winning streak coming in the grand finals. The Valhalla had no hope. They really didn't. I mean, they were dominant up until that point, but you have a team coming in with 11 straight wins, so much momentum, so much synergy, so much dominance, and you have to wait. You have to sit there and wait. They probably waited about an hour before that match started, and then BRK they just had too much momentum behind them. We see this happen every single low ink, just about, where the losers bracket comes in, forces a reset, gets the win, and then just finishes things out in the bracket reset. We've seen it happen too many times for this to be surprising to anybody, especially Valhalla, a team that has been in more alpha brackets than anybody. Well, the players in it, when they were revitalized, they've seen this happen more than anybody. Ask Avalanche, they know how this feels. Ask Last Chance, they know how this feels. This happened to them twice in low ink, where they came in as the clear-cut favorite, but the hungry underdog always dominates grand finals in low ink, except for last month. And so what does this mean for both teams going forward? For Valhalla, this is just their second tournament, and they have two really impressive second place finishes. The only teams to beat them were Luau and BRK in the past 2 weeks. That's it. So two low ink champions, Luau and BRK, the only ones to beat Valhalla in the past 2 weeks. That is pretty doggone impressive. And as somebody who watches their play style, their like turtle play style of have a really strong opening, get a lead, and then just endure was really cool to see. It was really fun to watch. But obviously, and keep this in mind, if you want to know the weakness to Valhalla, Luau and BRK are both Tetra teams. Maybe it's just the aggression that a Tetra adds that is just the only way to kind of break through the shell that Valhalla puts up once they get a lead there. But their style in this hyper aggressive meta, this anchorless meta that we're currently in right now, it's a nice change of pace, and it's nice to see it work, and it's nice to see Double Roller just completely dominate both teams. The greatest example, in the greatest single game win in low ink history, that highlights how their turtle playstyle really works, is the fact that they had their junior DC on Clam Blitz at Hotel when they already had the lead and played for a minute and 30 seconds in a 3v4 and still won the game. They still won 3v4 because they're so good at just turtling up and playing defense. Now, BRK obviously won the whole set, but that one win from Valhalla, that was legendary. That'll go down in low ink history as one of the most legendary wins you will ever see in that tournament. So the more we see of these guys, I don't know how much longer we'll be able to see them in lower level tournaments. Honestly, they're beating up on a lot of really good teams, and it's not even been close in some instances. It just takes a really good monster to knock them off, in Luau and BRK. So, but for BRK, as I mentioned, this isn't their first low ink, but clearly it's their best finish in low ink ever. As this will be their last low ink. Another Tetris team has won low ink. In the past 4 tournaments, a Tetra team has won 3 times. That says something. That shows what the future of SAC is going to be in January. If you want to win SAC in January, you're gonna have to beat like 4 or 5 Tetra players to do it. The road to an SAC championship is gonna go through Tetras. So if you're watching this and you have hopes of winning SAC, you need to start focusing on how to counter Tetra players, because you're going to get fed a healthy diet of it. These Tetra teams are really good. And you got to add, I thought I knew every good Tetra player in the community. Add Noodles to that now. Noodles is on the same plane as Lakeski of Xanadu, Kami of Luau, Ali of the Crustacean Crusaders, or the Wiggler Ahoy. And I know I'm missing somebody else really good here. I'm Chase from Helix. There's just a lot of really good Tetra players out there. Add Noodles to that list as well. But ultimately, congrats once again to BRK. They won the bigger prize pool this time around, and I think Valhalla still won $40 as well. This was the first time we had a prize pool for the second place team. So Valhalla winning the $40, and I believe BRK took home $160. Both of these are EU teams. I don't know what the current translation is from the American dollar to the euro. I would assume, well, I don't know. I mean, the whole world's kind of on fire right now, but maybe that translates to a higher value for you guys than it would be for an American team winning. But who knows? Congratulations to both those teams, I guess. And that's an hour and a half of me straight talking, bro. That's too much. I said next week. I said I would mention this again. Next week is Little Squid League this upcoming Saturday. If you are a Gamma Bracket and below team, make sure you sign up for that. Play in it. It is a good team. You want to be the next Wiggly Phantom? Sign up for this team or this tournament. This is how they grew to become a Gamma Bracket team. Play in more tournaments. I will be recapping this next week, as well as discussing the Nintendo situation with Melee in the Big House land that got ceased and desist, and what that means to the Splatoon community, as well as talking about the upcoming NA Open. If you would like to reach out to me in any way, let me give a disclaimer here, because a lot of you did reach out to me. But if you want to reach out, because just to like give like a feedback on things, that's cool. If I said something factual that's not accurate and you want to give feedback on that, awesome. If I give an opinion on something and you don't agree with that opinion, I don't care. Don't DM me to have like a conversation about opinions on things. Now, if you want to join my Discord server and have like a public conversation about it, that's cool. I'm all for that. But I'm not trying to get into DM conversations with people about opinions. Those are traps. Those are just waiting for me to say something that's going to get screenshot and put on Twitter. I ain't about that. So if you send me something and I don't respond to it, stop sending me stuff. Because I'm not looking to have those kinds of conversations. But if you do want to get into contact with me, Popgun #5882 on Discord, at Mr_Popgun on Twitter, YouTube at Popgun25, Twitch at Popgun25, YouTube at 25 Popgun. I guess we could go raid fish. Old fish. Raid fish. For those of you who enjoy or will be celebrating Thanksgiving, enjoy that. Those of you who do not, because it's not in your country or COVID, well, I don't know. Enjoy your Thursday, I guess.